What's up, guys? It's Demented Caliber here,
F-13 the Beast.
I had a cracker in my mouth. I'm Taro.
and today we are coming to talk about our piercing pet peeves, I guess you would say. Some of the things that
Our views
really
on
huh?
shit. Our views on different shit.
Yeah, our views on different aspects of the piercing industry. So I'm gonna start off with underage piercing. So when I say underage piercing, I don't mean 16. I don't mean 15. I don't mean 14. Anything under. So we'll start off. We had this friend. Her name was Billy. She was 13. We no longer talk to her for obvious reasons. She was fucking annoying. But she was 13. She had snake bites, and well, we kind of reamed her ass for it. I didn't really do it, but Taro did. And we basically just explained to her like you should probably just go ahead and take those out, wait till you're done growing, and then get them done again. Because, first off, they were uneven. Like, mine aren't perfectly symmetrical, but, like, she had one that was, like, way up here, and the other one's, like, way down here. It was awful. And I'm like, who the fuck did you get pierced by? Was he drunk? Like, obviously, the girl I got pierced by with my snake bites. She was I would say she's relatively new. I don't think she's been piercing for very long, so I'm not upset about that because I can just when I wear the two librettes and then a center um, captive, it looks fine. It really does. But going back to our story, so we're uneven, and we explained to her like just take them out, wait till you're older to get them, till you're done growing. And here's the reason why: wait till you're done growing, because as you grow, your face can change. It can get bigger, longer, um, and it's just like you're not fully grown into your face yet. So it's like shit's gonna change, and it's gonna become more uneven than what it already is. So brings me on to my next story. So I got my eyebrow pierced. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this. Can you see that? Needs to be cleaned. But I got my eyebrow pierced last night, and today while I was home doing my shit, I was sitting here looking up eyebrow piercing videos because you know why the hell not. And I came across the video, a title like 12-year-old gets eyebrow piercing. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna click on it, see what it's all about. And it's literally a fucking 12-year-old getting an eyebrow piercing, and I'm just shaking my head. I commented on it, and I said, any reputable shop will not pierce someone of that age. Why? Because their body's not done growing. And the fact of the matter is, out of all the damn piercings you could have gotten, you had to choose eyebrow. Don't get me wrong, eyebrow piercings look fucking amazing when they actually stay. But they have a high probability rate of either migrating or rejecting. And that's typically with any type of curved barbell piercing. They typically just body doesn't like it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Tara take this one because I know she's got some little thingies up in her thinking head or thinking noggin or thinking box. There we go.
My thinking box. Um, Actually, while you're talking, I thought about a different one than the initial thing I was going to talk about, which I can see your little smirk there, Beast. Um, I'm just going to quickly touch on the piercing babies thing. I don't believe you should pierce people if they can't consent to it, whether that be verbally, written. Um, it's like you don't pierce an unconscious person. Um, that's just my belief. I do understand that kids are technically their parents' property until they are 18 by pretty much any government. But I personally don't agree with it. I was a piercing apprentice, and we refused to pierce anyone who could not sign their name. Well, excluding some things like if they were having if they like just couldn't sign their name for some reason, that was beside the point. But they had to be able to express consent and desire for the piercing. And
You moved your camera
That's
piece.
all. That's all I'm gonna say on the subject. Because I know Beastie and I have some differing opinions, and he's actually a
Yeah.
parent. I was gonna talk about something else, and it quickly slipped away from me. And I'm gonna touch on the uneven thing. That's what I was gonna do. I remember what I was gonna talk about. The thing about like uneven piercings is sometimes it's not the person's fault. Me, for example, my tongue is really uneven. One because it's super short, it barely comes out of my mouth, and two because I have a vein in the wrong place. So he had to curve it in a. He told me it was like it will look straight on the top and it'll look straight on the bottom, but it won't be straight. Hey, ah. Out of a vein. A fucking stupid one. He actually had to shine a light on my tongue and draw it out with tattoo ink. Took a tattoo ink. He took a toothpick with tattoo ink and he drew it out. Because that's what he had to do, so he knew where not to hit the damn vein. His wife had to help him. It was great time piercing my tongue. Something else I'm gonna touch on, and this is gonna attack myself, so don't feel personally attacked, Beast. I hate it when people pierce themselves. I have pierced myself 3 times. These I did myself, and I had a cartilage piercing I did myself. Now, I'm a professional idiot who had the experience, the knowledge, um, and the tools, the proper tools, to pierce myself. It could have gone very wrong. Yes. Did I take self responsibility? Yes. Did I post it online? No. Do I teach people how to pierce themselves? Also no. But I did do it myself. I It took me like an hour to do each one because I was moving the marks around. But don't pierce yourself. There is probably a shop in your town where it's like $20 to $40 to get a piercing, and it's not worth it. Um, this one was fucking crooked. It went in like here and came out close to my head because I couldn't see very well. These two are great. They're perfect. I wouldn't change them for the world, except for this one maybe a little bit more this way. But I did them myself. But don't do that, especially not with a, especially not with like a sewing needle or just shoving a piece of jewelry through your face. That's not. There was a girl in my high school who sucked on a candy cane until it was sharp and stabbed it through her tongue. Do not be that girl. Either get it done right, or
Too
at
too
least
young.
at least do it in a like. Don't do it in your damn bathroom, okay? Your bathroom is the most disgusting room in your house.
To be fair, it was a piercing needle. Just so
That's fine.
happens.
I said sewing needle. My issues with sewing needles and just shoving shit through your face. Or a candy cane.
I'm just saying, like,
I need to be quieter. There's someone in my house trying to sleep. I'm gonna bring this down, back down here.
I
Yep, yeah.
sterilized it too. I mean, like, I had
Okay,
a good,
you know
I had a
what?
big lighter.
Um, but if you are gonna do it yourself, make sure the area you're doing is clean. Honestly, probably one of the cleanest rooms in your house is your kitchen, because you don't shit there. Sterilize it, prop up a mirror, and make sure you're using the correct tools. Use a clamp. Mark your area. Don't just randomly shove something through your face. Don't do it alone. Because if you pass out, there'll be no one to fucking help you, and you will probably pass out with a damn needle in your face. And use proper needles. Try Bevel or O needles. You can literally order them online. They are stupidly easy to get a hold of. Don't use a sewing needle. Don't be stupid. sterilize your environment. If you're gonna do it alone, honestly, it's worth a lot less hassle. Just go pay for it
Well, that's true.
than having to deal with all that shit. Like I said, I did it. I'm a professional idiot. Do as I say, not as I do. Alpha.
All right. I do want to add on to that. Don't use a fucking piercing gun. I've seen people use piercing guns on their nose and pierce their nostril. No, they don't do that. That is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
If you want to do it yourself, fine. Have somebody on standby that can actually help you if you need help. Get proper needles, get proper clamps, make sure they're sterilized, and all that good jazz. And if you want to go a step further, get a sterile pot, put some water in it, boil the water, then sterilize your equipment that way. Same thing as an autoclave.
You can also buy it pre-sterilized.
Yeah. And make sure if you do order jewelry, make sure it comes from a reputable manufacturer, seller, or distributor. Don't buy the. You're going to hate me for this, Bees. Don't buy eBay shit. I will say that.
Beast doesn't buy eBay things.
I never bought anything from eBay ever.
That's where Manson's jewelry came from.
Beast is not.
I am not Alex. Alex gets stupid ass frivolous things.
Yeah, just stay away from the eBay stuff. If you really want a good site to go to, bodyartforms.com. That or
We're
crazy.
not sponsored, by the way.
Yeah, we're not sponsored. You guys need to sponsor us because we order a lot of shit from you. I think you've ordered some stuff from them, haven't you?
Yeah, per your guys' words, so yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, but seriously,
Sponsored.
Body Art Forms or Crazy Factory. Two best sites I've used. Body Art Forms is a little pricey. But
it's worth it.
Yeah, it's in the long run it's worth it because the jewelry practically pays for itself. I got like a few plugs from Body Art Forms. Love them. The hematite, fucking love them. Most comfortable plugs I ever had. All right, so here's another opinion of mine, and me and Harley share the same opinion, and that is piercing guns. So I'll let her take the stand on that one first, and I'll explain more in a little bit.
Do you have any points you wanted to express? Okay.
Beast is more of a tattoo guy, so I think he'll benefit from the tattoo video that we're going to do sometime in the near future.
I've had my fair sharing of the piercing gun, but a gun, see, haha, that's just an old term. See, that's just a different era going on there. See, I totally agree with you guys about the whole negativities against the piercing gun. It's just that it's an old thing, so it's like from my era, it's a little bit more of a commonplace thing now. There's a better
alternative.
way of doing things. Right. Well, it's more available. Back then, it was around, but with us, it was we couldn't at our like 13, 14 years old. We couldn't go to a piercing shop back then. It was like we had to go to like Piercing Pagoda or Claire's. Yeah, big. We're very alternative guys. Big ass mohawks and shit, walking into Claire's to get our freaking ears pierced because we couldn't go to like piercing shops back then. I mean, that's just what they.
Did you hold the teddy bear?
Damn right, I hold the teddy bear.
Shit, imagine if fucking Hot Topic got a piercing booth.
I always thought they should. I don't even know why they don't, to be honest. I mean, like, but real ones.
Why. I can tell you why. Because Hot Topic has a brand of jewelry called Morbid Metals. And because they sell to the alternative style of people who stretch their ears and do stuff like that, Hot Topic, at some point, I don't remember exactly when this was, I stopped following stuff by Hot Topic. Point is they stand against piercing guns.
Well, I'm not talking about getting like a piercing gun place because there used to be a shop in our mall when I was this had been like when I was 18 at the time because I actually got I was actually take that back, I was 23, and I got my piercings redone. And there was a place in the mall that did it was a tattoo and piercing shop that got into our mall. So I know that that the health code
Pretty
definitely
sure this hot
supports it.
topic would be licensing.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. If they can get a license to actually put like a professional piercing thing, I mean, that would be
It,
freaking, that'd be
it
odd.
would be. So piercing guns. They did used to be very normal practice. A lot of people got their lips done with them, their ears, whatever, their noses. It used to be very commonplace. But so piercing guns are typically made out of plastic with a single-use cartridge for each person. Now, the best thing to compare that to is if you went into surgery and before you go into surgery, some doctors will show you all their tools. Um, it depends on whether or not you want to be walked through what's going to happen or not. And if a doctor picked up a plastic handled scalpel and you raised a concern about it and they looked at you and went, "Oh no, it's okay. We replace the tip every time. We replace the metal sharp bit every time. It's new for every person." It's still plastic handled, and that is an extreme to show you what piercing guns potentially could do. It is an extreme because obviously there's a lot more blood with surgery than there is with piercings. But if they told you, "Oh no, like we keep the same handle, we just wipe it down with rubbing alcohol," would you get that surgery by that doctor who has a plastic handled freaking scalpel? Show of
No,
hands? Yeah,
I
no.
don't know.
None of
No.
those rubbed down by rubbing alcohol. Now,
What the dude had a
piercing
fungus?
guns, when you get your ears pierced, there is sometimes fluid or blood or pieces of skin. And the piercing gun is rubbed down by rubbing alcohol. Which, sure, you'd be like, oh, it kills 99% of germs. I'm not a parent. Putting that out there. I would still not I would not, what's the word I'm looking for? Place my child in danger in any way, shape, or form if I could avoid it. And piercing needles, single use. You watch them throw them out, they throw out their gloves. Nothing that touched you is in use anymore. They use way harsher chemicals than rubbing alcohol to clean the rooms, and it's like I had to wear a mask when cleaning freaking benches. Because I have asthma and it was just shitty. What is reflecting in my face? Here we
All right.
go. Welcome to my brain. Very too unlined.
All right. So
Okay.
going back on to or continuing the piercing gun thing. Um, Easiest way I could put it, piercing guns, they can obviously shatter your cartilage. But you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what about getting pierced with a gun on your lobes? No, still a big no no. Here's the reason why. You take something that's blunt, like, say, a piece of, or like an earring. It's sharp, it's got a point on it, but it's very blunt. Now imagine something like this. It's just kind of pointy, but the fact still stands. It's got a point on it, so we take it and crap. Sometimes that happens. So we'll say like this. Now look at that.
Oh, it even cracked it. Look.
No, that's not a crack. That's a scratch.
Oh, whatever.
But the point still stands. There's a lot of it's not actually cutting away material. If I had a tri-bevel needle, I could show you, but it's forcing its way through.
So, if you look at an ear, if you get pierced down here, actually, when I got my ears pierced when I was 7, I had a lot of swelling and discomfort in my tragus that shattered. It doesn't feel right anymore. Doesn't feel like a normal tragus. It just kind of feels like a ball of scarred up cartilage. And then to about here on this ear, it's a little lower on the other ear. This ear got it really bad. I got my second lobe done with a gun to as an experiment. I knew what I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna go do this for fun. Fucking hurt like a bitch, and I heard this like weird crackle, gross noise, and I was like, what the fuck was that? and it was my cartilage broke. It broke in my conch down here and up here, and then it broke my helix here. So this is that it's healed now. That was quite a few years ago, but it's now just a hard mass of weirdly fused together cartilage. This year's a little better, but it's still got like this year's tragus feels normal. This is a normal tragus. It moves around. It's not a hard mass. And then this year the break only goes to about here. It's only a little bit of break, and it's not as like it didn't break nearly as bad. I don't know why, but like don't get me wrong. Most of the time, piercing guns they work. People don't really notice the problem with them, but I'm going to tell you one thing. You know how a bunch of people are like, oh, I can't wear like fake metals, or I can't wear this type of metal because it makes my ears like irritated. It's not actually irritating your ears, it's irritating the balls of scar tissue around your piercing because most people who are pierced with tri-bevel needles don't have that problem unless they already have sensitive skin. What?
Can I finish back on what I was talking about? All right, so, well, you want me to talk more, so I'm talking more. Besides the point. So here's the thing. Guns will hurt a lot more because they're forcing their way through and not actually removing tissue like a tri-bevel needle would. So obviously, when you're forcing a blunt object through, guess what? You got blunt force trauma. And if you actually look at slow-mos, like people who are just what would you call it, guinea pigs of sorts, and you watch slow motions of them actually or no, it was done. What was it done? Oh, it was done with a piece of apple. They did took a sliver of an apple, and they used a piercing gun, and you could see it ejecting shit out the back.
Yeah, you can see it done with a pig's ear too.
Yeah,
Pangea piercing did it with a pig's ear.
yeah, and going back to the blood argument, that is a really good way to contract a disease. Now that I think about it.
Like, there isn't enough of a chance that the FDA is going to do anything about it. I believe it's the FDA, right?
That would actually be CDC.
Whatever. It isn't enough of a chance that that could happen, but at the same time, the chance still exists. Um, there isn't any. Actually, here's another point. People who use piercing guns receive zero to minimal training. I was a piercing apprentice for 6 months, and I probably still had another year and a half to go before I could freely, by myself, pierce people. These people get thrown into their jobs, and here's what you do: you make a little dot, you rub their ear down with rubbing alcohol, you make a little dot, you'll click, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no training. Someone could have weird blood vessels going through their ears. Nothing. They don't know proper aftercare. They give you this weird bottle of solution that actually makes your ears worse than it makes them better.
Yeah.
But most of them receive zero to no training because that's not their primary job. Their primary job is to be a sales clerk.
Yeah, it's perfect case in point is Walmart. And if they don't give you a bottle of solution, one thing they'll tell you to clean your ears with is rubbing alcohol. Don't do that because it not only does it kill germs, it can actually kill your tissue or burn away your tissue.
It kills
That's
any good germs too, and it makes your skin incredibly dry, which does not promote healing whatsoever.
no, it doesn't. That's why I have to be cautious of the type of obviously most of all soaps are going to have some some little bit of alcohol in it. That's a no-brainer. Like antibacterial soap I think has like a little bit of alcohol in it, and that's why whenever you use it it makes your skin dry because of that alcohol. But the reason I say don't use alcohol is like she said, it may kill germs, but it also kills good germs. So stick with if you're of age and you can go to a tattoo shop or a piercing parlor, go there. stay away from Claire's, stay away from Walmart's, stay away from the local ear piercing shop in the mall that uses guns, because guns honestly aren't good. Professionals, I've seen this a lot of times, and I completely agree with it. Professionals don't use guns. All right, so moving on to the next rant. This is more or less along the lines of judgment, really. People who criticize other people for having piercings. So, point in case, case in point. I had that shit backwards. Case in point, my family, not so much my grandparents or my mom or anything, because my grandmother has her tongue pierced, my mom has her tongue pierced, and so on and so forth. But like my grandfather's side of the family, some are very religious, and then my uncle's wife, so my aunt by marriage, would always fucking harp on me because I got a new piercing or I got a new tattoo, and she's like, "Well, the Bible says you shouldn't do this to yourself, so on and so forth." Okay, first off, if we're gonna take a look at the fucking Bible, read that shit right. The Bible also says your body's like a temple, and there hasn't been no temples that I've seen that wasn't decorated. If my body's like a temple, I'm going to decorate it however I please, whether it be tattoos, piercings. I'm expressing myself. Just because you don't fucking like it doesn't mean I don't have to like it. Because I love tattoos. I love piercings. It's a fucking addiction. It really is. I swear they put crack in the Vaseline. But, no. It was like, and then you'll see, like, a lot of people say, oh, well, you're not going to get a job with all those piercings. Babe, how many piercings do you have currently at this point in time?
7.
7 piercings, and you were working at Wendy's?
I've worked at a lot of places. I haven't really had any issues finding a job due to my piercings. Now, granted, I don't act like, oh, you have to like my piercings. I normally go in with very minimal, flashy stuff. I either wear retainers or I wear just very like you can basically never see this piercing anyway. I usually flip my nose ring up. I wear solid plugs because it's just kind of respectful when you're going in for like a job interview. And
Yeah.
then when the job interview is over, and not to brag, but I have the job. Um, I ask what's your piercing policy, and if they be like, oh, like why? I'd be like, well, I have a good number of piercings. How many of them can I wear? Like, do I have to wear like retainers? Like, what is your rules against these things? And normally, it's better if it's an upfront conversation because then it's like, oh, well, we allow any number of piercings, but no hoops because like you can get them stuck. So I'm like, okay, so this isn't okay. You need to have it gone. Like, yeah, it's like you can get it stuck on something. We don't want it getting ripped out. It's not usually a prejudice thing. It's don't wear that because you can get hurt,
Yeah.
and then it's on us type of deal. Like I've gotten this hooked on a couple uniforms and a couple weird things, and if I didn't notice and I just like tried to move, it would have like ripped out of my face. No one wants that. I don't want
Yeah.
that. They don't want that. They don't want to deal with the report of that. So it's just no hoops. Is usually the rule I end up coming across. Is just doesn't matter how many, just no hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah, and typically whenever she goes to work, she either just sometimes you'll just flip it up or wear a retainer.
I wear a retainer. At least you
Okay.
should have experience with that.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a little different on my spectrum. I had a lot of problems with people with liking my piercings, so I really can't be a great judge about that.
Yeah.
Well, what is your experience with it?
There's a bias between male and female. Always
Yeah.
has been.
Mhm.
I used to have long hair, right? That was also an issue. So if we're gonna go about biases about appearance wise, I guess that was a big thing. My hair and my piercings weren't always exactly accepted, especially when I had my lip pierced, because I used to have my lip ray pierced, or center lip, I guess is what people usually call them, but whatever. Back then we called them brays. I don't know. That's what they call them. I don't know.
We'll let it slide.
So
Yeah, all right. Well, I can't say I don't have too much experience with that, other than like the judgmental factor of like my family, and just like a few on my grandfather's side. My great grandparents don't mind it too much. They're not happy about it, but I think their philosophy is, well, as long as he's not doing drugs.
See, as much as I've never had an issue finding a job, that's typically because I'm good at putting my personality forward when I need to, and I'm typically a respectful person in public. If we're talking personally, every time I get a new piercing and my mom sees it, she's like, "Oh, great, more metal and holes in your face. You know, I wanted you to have metal and holes in your face when I made you. I would have put them there."
Now, granted, I'm not saying I never had. I want to get across that it wasn't the fact that I didn't get the job. It just that I was always like told up front I couldn't wear anything besides clear, like straight ones. I could never wear anything that had any dangle. I had to basically hide my stuff, and if I worked anywhere, I always had to put my hair up in a hat to hide the fact that I had long hair. Like it just that's what I was more getting to. It's just that I always had to like, but same job. Uh, Girls could have long hair, obviously, because that's just the standard. Because girls naturally have long hair, right? That's you know they're allowed to have piercings showing. It was just a thing.
I have I have a similar issue. This is getting off topic of piercings, but I have a similar but opposite issue because I have short hair.
Uh,
Um, I get comments constantly. "Oh, you look so pretty with long hair. Why don't you grow out your hair? You'd be so much prettier without, these piercings. These are fine. These are cute. That's cute. These are them. You'd look so much better if you didn't shave your head." And I'm like, okay, I don't care. My old general manager actually made a comment like that, and he was like, "Oh, you'd be more attractive with long hair."
It's like,
I don't think I want you to be attracted to me.
all right, yeah, I'm gonna say it on this note. By that comment, it's like I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm here to do my job, get paid, and go on about my life. Seriously, if that's all people are focused on nowadays is having attractive workers, then they need to go into the porn industry.
I will say about 90% of all of our employees were female and were redheads.
Well then,
There was a damn type in that freaking store. Every single female had red hair. Some type of red hair. Mine's dyed red.
yeah,
And almost every single worker, especially during the day when the general manager was in, was female.
yeah, it's crazy. But it's like, no, I mean, don't go up to, and again, this is jumping off topic. Don't go up to somebody and tell them, oh, well, you'll be more attractive if you do this. You're not paying them to be attractive. You're paying them to do their damn job. Jesus. Oh, I don't know what the fuck I just did. Hang on. I minimized my thing. So, where the fuck were we at?
I don't know. I've made all of my points, I think.
Oh, yeah. So, here's another thing. People claiming that these piercings cause certain issues. So, if you haven't seen my other video that I uploaded about addressing amazing top 5, go watch that and you'll learn more about it. But me and Tara, we both have our tongues pierced, and we both know that tongue piercings are one of the easiest and fastest healing piercings out there. Because obviously it's one of the easiest piercings to take care of, because brush your teeth, rinse your mouth out with alcohol-free mouthwash. That's basically it. It's really all the aftercare you have to do. Go ahead.
Actually, it is the easiest piercing to take care of. It is one of the fastest healing. Biggest issue with it is it's really easy to over clean it because every time you eat, you're supposed to like rinse out your mouth. So if like or every time you drink something that isn't water, what they don't tell you is after every time you eat or drink something, rinse your mouth out with water or sea salt solution. Don't always rinse your mouth out with
Yeah.
mouthwash because your tongue will turn white and it'll get really irritated and you'll just be sitting there going, "What the fuck have I done?"
Yeah, and a lot of people look at that and be like, "Oh, well, that's infected." No, it's just irritated because you've been cleaning it way too much. Fact of the matter is, yes, tongue piercings can get infected. It's very rare for them to get infected.
You have to like literally just not take care of your mouth at all.
Yeah, and through every oral piercing I've had, you would consider these oral, right? So every oral piercing I've had, I haven't had a single issue with them. Any of my piercings, really, except for my
Yeah.
cartilage. Cartilage was my fault. But amazing top five, and I wanted to talk to her about this. She had said that they can get infected really easily, so on and so forth. And one of the things that really stuck out to me, what she said was the reason that you have to have somebody who's very precise in placing the needle is because of nerve damage. No, the reason you have to have somebody that's precise and has a steady hand is because there's two blood vessels that run along each side of your tongue. And if you're off by a millimeter, you can hit that blood vessel and you're in serious trouble.
Well, most piercing places carry a powder that, when sprinkled on a bleeding thing, basically it's called
Yeah.
cauterizing
Yeah.
cauterizing powder. That it stops the bleeding, but um, there is something along the bottom of your tongue called a frenulum. There's also one on the other side of the penis, which is just kind of a an extra bit of skin or something. I don't exactly remember what a frenulum is. You're not supposed to hit that either, but it's a very obvious white line. Uh,
Yeah.
comes off the tongue web. Some people it goes all the way to the tip. Some people barely have a frenulum. You just don't want to hit it. Another common misconception is that you can have half your face paralyzed if you get your eyebrow pierced. There's no main facial nerves that run through your eyebrow.
Yeah.
Um, I have one. I have one of those. Something that bothers me that's a common misconception. Getting your daith pierced will not cure migraines.
It's a placebo effect.
Daith is in there. Sure, when it's swollen and heavily irritated and all the pain is focused on here, you may forget about your migraines. There is no medical link between getting your daith pierced and curing migraines. Or else every doctor in the world would suggest it because they can only give you so many medications before like you just stop. Like I suffer from severe migraines, and I don't like my doctor stopped prescribing me medication because she's like it's not working. So they're not making any money off of me for me having migraines. So if legitimately there was this cure-all piercing, they would be like, hey, go get your daith pierced or your doff, whatever you want to call it. But when it's swollen and all irritated, it distracts you. Once it's healed, your migraines come back. Oh, well, imagine that.
Don't get me wrong, the daith piercing looks good, but I've done research where it shows that it's just a placebo effect.
The what?
Placebo.
Hey,
Wait,
I don't know.
you don't know what a
I've never even
are you talking about the piercing?
inside, like in
right
the
there.
conch.
No, that one line that goes through the conch, it goes down through here and through here.
No, I've never seen anybody pierce it.
I've seen it. It's a really neat piercing.
Oh,
But do you know what a placebo effect is?
I know what a placebo is. Yeah.
Okay. To those who don't know what a placebo effect is, it's basically your brain thinking that something's actually happening when really it's not. It's basically making you think that it's working. In reality, you're just not having a migraine at that point. Same things can happen with medications, believe it or not. Start taking Prozac, you feel a lot better. Yeah, see that? I'm not gonna lie, that looks amazing.
Can you see that beast? That's a date.
I think they look cool, but saying
Yeah.
that it's a cure all for headaches and another misconception, and this actually also comes from Amazing Top 5. What a surprise. Septum piercings. Apparently, something bad can happen with these. I forgot what it was called, and even if I remembered, I probably couldn't pronounce it. But apparently, this little bit right here can get some sort of infection and cause your sinuses to swell up and make breathing through your nostrils harder. I don't fucking know. Again, if you're having these issues, it's more likely you're not cleaning it enough or at all. What's the number one thing when getting a piercing? Aftercare.
Number one thing in BDSM too. Sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, you had to throw that in there. So we're gonna talk a little bit about aftercare for a second, because I hear people spout all kinds of shit, and it's just like, eh. There's
I
like a
have the best example,
okay,
or I have the best rundown of aftercare. So whatever solution you decide to use, whether it be sea salt solution, H2 Ocean, antibacterial soap, basically what you're going to want to do is for the first week, you are going to want to clean your piercing once in the morning and once at night. And then for the second week, you're going to want to clean your piercing typically right before you go to bed to wash off all the gross gunk that's showed up. You typically don't want to rotate your piercing. You want to just kind of gently like get the gunk off. Depending on where it is, you may want to perform a sea salt soak to get the gunk off, depending on what it is.
yeah.
Um, Rotating it isn't really suggested. So after the second week, it is your judgment whether or not you want to continue meticulously cleaning it. Over cleaning is definitely a problem, but for the first week, 2 times a day, second week, once a day, and then from then on, use your own judgment. If your own judgment isn't reliable, typically you're going to want to continue once a day for the duration of 6 weeks, because that is when your piercing is completely healed. If you have a long bar, when your swelling has gone down, return to your piercer. They will replace your long bar with a short bar. You'll probably have to pay for the jewelry because you'll be taking home both.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's basically what you do there. And continue cleaning it. Don't switch out your jewelry any more than just switching it down to a short one up until the 6 to 8 weeks is over. Cartilage piercings, on the other hand, do not heal after 6 weeks. They can take anywhere from 3 months to a year to heal fully. Use your own judgment, know your own body. Um, yeah, that's basically the best rundown of aftercare I can give you as someone who worked in a piercing shop.
All right, here's a big one. Here's a big pet peeve, and this will be my final pet peeve. That is piercers who use hoops for like the eyebrow and the nostril. That aggravates her too. All
Problem
right.
with a piercing initially with a hoop is it it leads way to keloids, basically. Um, you have a judgmental look on your face, beast mode. No, all right, just resting asshole face. Gotcha. Love you.
All right. So here's a can I take this one? Here's the reason why. I think well I don't like when piercers use hoops and nose and like the eyebrow. I've actually had both, believe it or not, and neither one of them healed right. It's my own personal experience. They didn't heal right. Because here's the thing: you're thinking to yourself, well, you got a curved barbell. That's different because it's not a complete circle, and it's only at like what a slight degree like that. It's not like go ahead.
Problem with hoops is that it puts a lot of tension and it pulls the skin in a very interesting direction. There is no let up on the tension, so that's where you get like keloids or hypertrophic scarring, um, where the fluid builds up and you're left with this weird bulge. Now, it's not always caused from that reason, but hoops can contribute to it. Um, I had my cartilage pierced with a hoop once. It didn't heal at all. Um, had my other cartilage pierced with a labret. It healed a little bit better, but my cartilage isn't suited for piercings. It doesn't have enough blood flow. Um, but yeah, that's basically the issue. Is that there is never a release of tension. So you get your lip ring, whatever, snagged on something, or you're playing with it, and it has that tension. Normally, when you let go, it relaxes. But when
Yeah.
you have that hoop, you already have a constant tension. So when you move it, when it relaxes, it's not relaxing to a normal state, I guess. What am I doing with my hand?
Uh,
It relaxes to tension, so that can cause hypertrophic scarring.
yeah. And a perfect example of a good piercer was a girl. I forgot what her name was. I think her name was Vicky. She worked at a tattoo shop that I had went to. This was when I got my very first lip piercing, and she refused. She's like, "We don't do this for the exact reason that Tara just said. It's like we don't pierce with the hoop. We're gonna have to pierce you with a labret." I was like, "All right," and she said, "Come back in 2 weeks and I'll change it out for you." So, and the one thing that really aggravates. Go ahead.
I was going to touch on the hypertrophic scarring thing. Um, this can help. If you get to beast mode level, you're going to have to get it surgically removed, probably. Normally, if you have typical hypertrophic scarring, treat it well. The piercing is still healing because it's still open, and you don't really want to leave it there for a really long time. Um, take non-iodized sea salt, mix it with a little bit of water until you have a paste. Apply the paste. You can either cover it. I just kind of like stuck a cotton ball behind my ear. It kind of got stuck there when I was letting the paste dry. Leave that paste on there overnight, and you will slowly start to see it shrink away because it's absorbing the fluid.
Hmm.
But if it's not open and if it's completely healed, um, you may have to have it surgically reopened or do a little poke or something. But yeah, that's the best way to treat hypertrophic scarring. Continue.
All right. So one last. Well, this is a really a fucking pet peeve. This is common sense. Don't get pierced by somebody who doesn't have any piercings of their own. That is common fucking sense. The same goes with tattoos. Don't get tattooed by somebody who doesn't have tattoos. The reason I say that, and I don't know if this is correct, but the reason I say that is because someone who's tattooing but doesn't have tattoos or piercings, or either way, if they don't have any of those, it shows they're not devoted to their career.
That's not really the reason you don't want to. It's because they don't know how it feels.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who has no tattoos and they're tattooing you, and they're just driving that needle into you, um, they don't really know what they're doing to you, or if they're being way too light-handed because they don't have any tattoos, um, that could be an issue. The piercing thing, if they don't have any piercings, I mean, sure, they probably could have been trained properly, but piercing is a passion career. You don't get into piercing because you think you'll make a lot of money. It's you actually do not make a lot of money being a piercer or a tattoo artist at all. Most piercers and tattoo artists live above their shop because it's a one rental fee. Um, it's not something you want to get into because you think you'll make money. So to see a piercer who maybe they retired all their piercings, but to see a piercer who either has never had piercings um, is a little concerning because kind of they don't really seem that devoted, but they again don't know how it feels. So when you go to someone, you're like, hey, like in your own words, how does this feel? And they don't have it, they can't really tell you. Like the guy who pierced my septum had his septum pierced. And I asked him, like, how does it feel? He's like, honestly, the clamps are the worst thing. They're going to hurt the most. And he was right. Because when he got pierced, he got them pierced with clamps, and it hurt.
Hmm.
The clamps hurt, not the needle. But it kind of gives them more experience, especially if they've had it, they've been under the needle, they know how it feels.
Yeah.
So they can accurately tell you how it feels, or they can. know how to treat you because of how it's gonna feel.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, the standpoint I just made, like, is they're not passionate about what they do. It is, you know, it's somewhat true. It's not the entire basis as she said, but there is some truth to what I said.
Do you have an opinion, Beast? Do you look like you have an opinion? No?
So,
I'm getting bad at reading you tonight.
one thing I do want to say on the person who doesn't have piercings, uh, like if you're going to get a septum and the person that's piercing you doesn't have a septum, their septum pierced, I would just stay away from that. That was like my biggest mistake, was getting what?
I have one last bit of advice, and then I'm done. I'm just gonna sit over here with my hand over my mouth. Um, don't be afraid to say no. When they're marking you and you don't like where that mark is, say something. I know you're full of adrenaline and like you want to get this done. Like I feel it too every single time I get a new piercing, even though I have so many. It's you have that adrenaline. Always look at the mark. It's easy to move a mark. It's not easy to move a piercing. And if you leave unhappy, they're not happy. If they messed up on you, they're gonna feel bad. They would rather you make them move that mark 1,000 times and go right back to the original position that it was in than get pierced and be unhappy.
Yeah,
They're there to make you happy. They're not, like I said, they're not there to make money. This is what they love doing. Like this is their profession. It's usually a passion driven profession. They typically love their work, or honestly they don't really have a reason to be there anymore. So look at your mark, really look at it, and if you don't like it, make them move it because they will gladly move it. They will move it all over your damn face until you are happy, and then they'll pierce you. It's so easy to move a mark. It is not easy to move a piercing, even if it's like a millimeter to the right. Tell them. He'll move it. He or she will move it. They'll move the mark. They'll move it again. It doesn't matter how long it takes. They're not there to be fast. They're there to make you happy.
yeah.
Alright, I'm done.
But back to what I was saying. The reason I say, and this is honestly personal experience. So I've had my septum pierced twice. She's seen me when she's seen a picture of me when I had it done the first time. I got it pierced by somebody. I don't even think he necessarily did piercings all that often. He was more of a tattoo artist. That's a number one mistake. Like, there's some people who are devoted who can actually do both, but it's best just find someone who does strictly piercings. Because,
Jack of all trades, master of none.
yeah. But on the top of that, he didn't have a septum pierced, so he didn't really know where to. I don't think he knew where to place it, and he ended up placing it on my cartilage. And result from that, I almost nearly passed out. I had to literally sit down behind, like, he was in the process of doing a tattoo. He stopped for a second to come do my shit because I, he knew who I was. We were kind of like friends. He was a dick. Besides the point. But I had to sit down behind the girl who was getting a tattoo done. She had a fucking shirt off and everything. She's freaking out. I think her friend was freaking out because I'm just pale in the face, about to pass out. And it's like years later, now that I met her, and she was explaining to me that he pierced it wrong. I told her the experience that she said you shouldn't have had that experience because where they're actually supposed to pierce is right here in the little flap of skin.
It's a sweet spot.
Yeah. So if you feel somebody like most of the time they will clamp up there and then they'll pull down to find that sweet spot. But if they keep the clamps there, tell them no. Get your
That's I do. I keep saying it could be quiet, but I never do. Um, you can stop your piercing at any time. Is all I'm gonna say. There is no shame in getting marked, sitting down, being sterile and ready to go. They put the needle in. They go breathe in, and you go no. There's nothing wrong with that. You are allowed to back out of a piercing. Don't worry about the fact that you wasted their time like you didn't. Again, they would rather you be comfortable and happy with what you're doing than do something that you're gonna regret or freaking out. Like even if you just need a minute, if you feel like you need that, tell them. They're there for you. You're not there for them. They don't get nothing out of them piercing you, except for like I don't know, average piercings $30 typically.
Depending on the
Um,
shop, you can get it
let's
for
say
like
like ten
20.
dollars for their time. Uh, $5 for jewelry. They make like $15 off you. They'll take a minute. Like they're not there for the money.
Well,
They're there for the passion and the art and the carry on.
I actually want to address that because some shops will actually give you jewelry free when you get a
Yeah.
piercing.
Well, it's in the cost.
Yeah.
It's covered in the cost of the jewelry or in the piercing. If your piercing's $30, but $10 of that time is for overhead, $5 is jewelry, $15 goes to the piercer.
Yeah. So, but I think that's pretty much it. Just follow the rule of thumb. I know this video is long, and if you made it to the end of the video, congratulations, because I am not gonna watch this shit over. I'm just gonna directly upload it tomorrow or today. What time is it?
It is 3:30 a.m. for me, 2:30 a.m. for you.
All right, yeah. So I'm gonna upload it later today. You guys will obviously, well, besides the point. Anyways, guys, this is Storm Family signing out.